Let's unpack what happened this eventful week in American politics with Democrat strategist and former New York State Senator David Carlucci and host of The Morning Answer on Salem Radio in Los Angeles, Jennifer Horn, who got up early for us. Thank you, Jennifer. David, Mamdani really wants to turn the page. I think he was pretty clear about that on traditional liberals and Democrats. Frankly, like you, are Bernie and AOC and Mamdani really the new leaders of the party nationally?
Well, no, they're not the leaders. They're part of a coalition. And I think that's really how you have to think of the Democratic Party now. It's a broad, big tent from Mamdani to Spanberger or Mikey Sherrill, who won. And I think it's going to be all of them rowing in the same direction. That will be the challenge, of course. But we saw the victories last night that will really be the victories we look for in 2026 will be more like what happened in Virginia and New Jersey and less New York City. I mean, we know New York City is unique to the rest of the country. There's no place like it. So the politics, of course, have to be a little bit different. But what we saw in New York City and around the country this past Tuesday was just overwhelming support for Democrats, more than we predicted. Particularly in a place like New Jersey, where we saw that race tightening. It looks like the Democrat pulled away with about 13-point lead when the votes are all counted. So this shows a lot of energy on the Democratic Party. The challenge will be just to row in the same direction.
So just follow-up question for you real quick, David. So you're not concerned about sort of traditional liberals being marginalized by the socialists. You think that this is going to be a, there's going to be a nice kumbaya moment here? Because I didn't get that from Mamdani or even a lot of AOC's rhetoric that we've heard recently.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I don't think it's easy. When you work with Democrats, or I think any politicians, it's like herding cats. But what we saw in the election results was this energy, right? The alternatives on the ballot, the choice on the menu was Republicans, Democrats, and overwhelmingly the electorate chose Democrats. Yeah, when they had the choice. But look at New York City, for example. We had Andrew Cuomo and Zoran Mamdani on the ballot, as well as Curtis Sliwa. And together, Cuomo and Mamdani got over 80% of the vote, leaving Sliwa with the lowest percentage of the vote any Republican candidate for mayor has ever received.
Yeah, but it's seven to one, and he wasn't a legitimate candidate.
But it's a Republican candidate. I mean, why put your name? Yeah. Why have the party endorse someone when you have an opportunity? The Republicans probably could have got more votes if they had a decent candidate, but they didn't.
I think that's probably legitimate. That's a legitimate question. I think that's yeah.
We can look at polls.
I want to get Jennifer in here.
Sure.
And again, Zoran got 50% to 50% of the voters, so he really got 25% of the vote. Jennifer, even the president said coming out of Tuesday that Republicans didn't come out because he wasn't on the ballot. He's not going to be on the ballot again. Now, is that a big perception problem for the GOP and the Trump coalition moving forward?
Well, I think the Trump effect is real. When he's on the ballot, people turn out, but that's because he makes an emotional connection with voters. Let's not kid ourselves. The Democrats are not rowing in the same direction right now. Chuck Schumer, who was late for that press conference, wouldn't even admit to voting for Mamdani. I think Democrats are going to have a real problem because this is the new face of their party. And look, I live in the belly of the beast. I'm in the People's Republic of California talking to you right now. And what happens in New York City or in Los Angeles is not exactly what the rest of the country wants to do. Republicans need to not take any voting group for granted. They need to make sure they're connecting emotionally with their voters. And that didn't happen in New York City. You had a guy who made big promises with Mamdani. You had a failed governor who killed a lot of people during COVID. And the Republican Party decided to put their support behind him instead of the candidate. The Republican Party needs to start supporting the candidates that are actually in ways representing our values.
Well, but I mean, let me go back to my question to you, though. I mean, this idea that Trump is the motivating factor for the Trump coalition, doesn't that have to change now? Doesn't that have to start to shift because Trump isn't going to be on the ballot and the Republicans have to try to motivate those people?
Well, I think that's true, but this is where it goes down to candidates. We have to take lessons from Trump. Connecting with voters emotionally is key. That's what Trump has done all the way through. And so, yes, candidates matter. We need to make sure that we're connecting with voters on real life issues. And we also have to play a little tough like President Trump. And I think if we start taking lessons from how he ran his campaign and he was everywhere, Republicans won't need to worry about having him on the ballot if we start replicating what worked for him.